Alright, this is video 6 for the 2011 Form A test. This is question number 6. And it looks like a pretty straightforward question other than some annoying math on part C. So let's go ahead and get started. Part A simply says show that f is continuous at x equals 0. So to be continuous, the limit as x goes to 0 from the left has to equal the limit as x goes to 0 from the right has to equal the value sorry, we hit a little button there, has to equal the actual value. So as we get to 0 from the left, that would be using this equation. So we plug in 0, 1 minus, so let's do this, of f of x equals 1 minus 2 sine of 0, which is simply going to equal 1. And the other equation we plug in and we get e to the negative 4 times 0, which is e to the 0, which is 1. And f of 0 is the or equal to right here, so that's actually the value we got when we plugged it in, which equals 1. So show that it's continuous. Basically, I think we have. I'm going to say one more thing. I'm going to say the limit as x approaches 0 of the function equals the value of the function equals 1. So the limit equals the output. Part B, write the derivative of f. And since it's made up of two functions, we're going to have a piecewise function. So the derivative of f equals, it's just simple as finding the derivative of each part. So the derivative of 1 minus 2 sine of x, the derivative of sine is cosine, so that's going to end up being negative 2 so negative 2 cosine of x, and that's going to be for x less than 0 because they said it's not don't do at 0, and the reason is probably because the slopes on the left and the slopes on the right of each of these pieces don't match. So that would mean that we have a corner or a cusp. So that would mean the derivative at 0 is undefined, which is why we have no or equal to 0. And the derivative e to the negative 4x should be negative 4e to the negative 4x for x greater than 0. Done. Oh, not done. Find the value of x for when the derivative equals negative 3. So I take a look at this and use a little common sense, and I think we're going to get through this pretty quickly. Negative 2 cosine of x. Cosine of x only goes to 1 or negative 1. So that means if I multiply by negative 2, it can't equal something as low as negative 3. So negative 2 cosine of x can never equal negative 3. Negative 4e to the negative 4x probably can. I divide, I get e to the negative 4x equals 3/4. I take the natural log of both sides. Natural log of e cancels out. I get negative 4x equals the natural log of 3/4. And I get negative 1/4 natural log of 3/4. So I have no idea what that number is, but that's the one I need. Okay, so now we get to part C. Part C says find the average value of f. So that simply means I have to add up all the f's. So that means integral. The only annoying part is it's going to span two different functions. So I'm going to have to do two different integrals. So I need to add up 1 minus 2x from negative 1 to 0. Then I need to add to that the integral from 0 to 1 of e to the negative 4x. And when I do that, when I'm done, I should say I'm going to multiply it by a half because I need the average, and the width would be 2. And apparently I can't read because that should say sine of x. Okay, so now we'll just do with the math. So I get 1/2 times the antiderivative of 1 minus is going to be x, and then the antiderivative of sine is going to be negative cosine. So I think I should have this. I'm going to test it. The derivative of negative 2 cosine of x, the derivative of cosine is negative. That would turn this positive, and I would have the wrong answer. So I'm going to have a plus there. Evaluated from negative 1 to 0, plus the antiderivative of e to the negative 4x is going to be e to the negative 4x times negative 1/4 to deal with the chain rule when I take the derivative of the negative 4x. That's evaluated from 0 to 1. So I plug in 0 and I get 0 plus 2 cosine of 0. Cosine of 0 is 1, so that gives me 2. Minus, I plug in negative 1. And I get negative 1 plus 2 cosine of negative 1. Notice it's negative 1, it's not negative pi. I have no idea what the cosine of negative 1 is. Plus, plug in 1, and I get negative 1/4. Let's just put this in brackets here. I get negative 1/4 e to the negative 4th minus a negative, plug in 0, e to the 0 is 1, I get 1/4. Okay, so I get 1/2 times 2 plus 1 minus 2 cosine of negative 1 minus 1/4 e to the negative 4th plus a 4th. I guess I need to clean this up. I don't really want to. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus a 4th. Took care of that, and that. The rest of this I can't really do much with. So negative 2 cosine of negative 1 minus 1/4 e to the negative 4th times a half. So 3 and 1/4 is actually, what is that? That's 12. That's 13/4. So that becomes 13/8 minus the 2 cancels, minus 1/8 e to the negative 4th. Ugh. It's ugly, it's not all that hard. Find the average value. Okay. So I added them all up. The half was the dividing by 2. I think we're done. Let's see if we came close. Alright, let me slide this over a little bit. Part A. The limit was 1 from both sides. The output was 1, so the limit equals the output. Therefore, f is continuous. There's your 2 points. Part B, the derivative is negative 2 cosine of x and negative 4 e to the negative 4x. That's exactly what we put. Negative 2 cosine x can't equal negative 3, and the other does equal negative 3, and that's what we had. Therefore, the derivative equals negative 3 hat. Yeah, that's what we put. And then let's see if we did this one right. 13/8 minus cosine of negative 1 minus 1/8 e to the negative 4th. All right, I'm a little surprised, but we got it right. Excuse me here. Let's move this over. So you can see how you got your points on this last one. 1 point for writing it out separately. You got 2 points, one each for doing each of the antiderivatives of the pieces, and then one for the answer. You actually got 3 points for part B, 2 for the derivatives, so probably 1 for each part, and then 1 for finding the x, which probably was, I don't know, some of you might have struggled with. And then back up here was 2 for the analysis. The information on this one, I'm guessing, is probably not good. Question 6. Students performed I was wrong. Relatively well, particularly given it involved piecewise. Average was 303. 18.5% didn't get any, but keep in mind this is a question 6, and some of them might just run out of time. Okay, that ends the 2011 Form A test.